Hello, I'm Calvin Tilokee, the star of Hotel Memes. Welcome to another episode of Revenue Hacks. You may know me as Ref Problems on Instagram. I'm really excited today to get into this show with the infamous and famous Rupesh Patel. Today we are talking about what you've always wanted to ask a general manager. Keep it clean out there. But I hope you guys created your burner accounts like I suggested last week. There should be a lot of anonymous LinkedIn profiles in the comments today, but please feel free to send in your comments, your questions. Really excited to get into this topic today. But first, we'll go around and introduce our esteemed panel for this, almost said this evening. And it's morning. It is 5 a.m. where I am. I am all types of confused, but we will start with Anita.
Thank you so much. My name is Anita. I'm a general manager located in Budapest, Hungary. It's a budget hotel, 157 rooms, which is quite huge for Budapest because only the 5 stars are bigger normally. We are also a new opening. We opened at the beginning of the year, springtime, during lockdown number, I don't know. And are fully booked today and are dealing with every difficulty which you can face as a GM and the team, of course, in the meantime.
All right. Well, looking forward to your insight. I'm sure you got some good stories and insight you can share with us today. Anna, right, the lady in the middle.
My name is Anna. I'm operations manager at the Harbour Hotel and Spa in Stockholm in the UK. And I'm also winner of the GM of the Future Award by Independent Hotel Show and Master and Holders.
That's fantastic. I love it. Congratulations. All right, Mr. T.
Hi guys, so my name is Thibault. I'm the founder and managing director of Catala Consulting. We look after revenue management for several hotels across Europe. And a lot of new projects coming up, which we are going to keep you updated in the next few episodes. So yeah, really looking forward to announce all of this. I'm hiring, by the way, very important. I take this opportunity, and happy to be here with Rupesh and the team. Yeah, looking forward.
We got to get that little circle around your face for the show, like LinkedIn hiring.
So, hiring, yes.
Me too, please.
And last and certainly not least, the man who needs no introduction on the Hospitality Podcast, but we'll let you do it anyway.
Hey, it's Rupesh Patel. Super excited. Thanks, guys, for having me on. I share the good word of hospitality on social media, including my platform, LinkedIn. I'm an owner, operator. I've been a general manager for the longest time. Seen it all, and I'm here to share just insights and inspiration to all of us to continue growing, and I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. Yeah, well, we are certainly happy to have you. We got a lot of questions. I polled my audience on Ref Problems this week. I got quite a few interesting questions for the GMs on the panel. I'm sure we'll get them. We'll get some more from the comments. So we'll just jump right into it. Easy one. This one is pretty much a layup. But what made you want to be a general manager?
Who are you asking first?
We'll start with you. We'll start with you, and then we'll go around.
So I had no choice. Our family, we moved in and lived in a motel, a 48-room motel in South Florida in 1989. And basically, you had to be everything, including the general manager. And I was 11 years old at that time. And so really, it's been in the family, and I've had no choice to get out. Well, I actually did get out for a little bit, but then my passion came back, and I've been doing it ever since. So yeah, it's been since I was 11 years old, and now I'm 45, and like all of us, we've seen it all. But it's in our blood, I think.
Wow, that's awesome. How about you, Anna?
Well, for me, it's a journey. I would say I just wanted to make a difference all the way through. It doesn't matter what position I was in. I just was doing it. For me, probably it's a next step to be a GM, I would assume. But for me, it was just to make sure I make a difference. I make a difference with everything I do.
Mm-hmm. Anita?
I never wanted to be a general manager. And then later on, it changed to the same as Anna. I always looked at my work and everything in the private that I just want to make a difference. I I started to work in hotels. I started to work in big chains headquarters, making really, really relevant jobs. And then I decided to move back to Hungary as my origin country. And then I weighed my options. If I want to make a career, which way I want to go, and where do I have the most influence in the hotel market locally, where I can be surrounded with people and make a change in people's lives. It doesn't matter if you're on the guest side or with your team.
Yeah.
So it came.
All right. Well, we have some varying answers there. Some different career paths to being a GM. One of the questions I got was, what exactly are the job duties of a general manager?
Oh
Pick,
my
I would
God.
say pick, the first 50, because we know there's a lot of them. But we'll start with you, Rup. Let's what would you say are the main job duties of a general manager?
The biggest duty of a hotel, being a general manager, is really getting the team together, building a strong team to support the operations of the hotel. I mean, pretty much everything, right? And that strong leader, as far as just being there to make sure that the operations, the guests are happy. There's probably 1,000 things that a GM does in a single day that you don't think about. And for many of us, it's revenue. It's walking the property as as somebody, like a guest mind perspective, right?
Right.
There's so many different parts, but I would say getting the team together, getting them riled up to be excited about the day is, I think, the most important thing, because we all have issues in our life, right? And we might come to the hotel where something happened in our life this past week, or today, or yesterday, or the future, and I feel like it's our jobs as GMs, leaders of the hotel, to keep everybody going. And I think that's a big part of being the leader, the GM of your hotel, and I think that's important.
Yeah, that's a great answer. I think I'll be honest, a lot of people I've worked with in that capacity in my career haven't had that outlook as far as being the leader and kind of making sure that you're creating the environment for other people to succeed. There's not enough people that I think have that mindset. So I'm really glad that you shared that. And as Andrew said in the comments here, it's doing everything that no one else wants to do, which kind of comes with leadership. And that, I think any department head will tell you that. But then imagine being the department head of all the department heads.
I think it has shifted actually quite a lot in the last few years, because before you will have seen a lot of GMs having drinks and champagne with their guests in the lobby, and having a raclette on the ski resort and so on. But more and more, which is still very important, don't get me wrong, but more and more, as a pressure comes from the owner, investor, and having like a data backed up, a lot more are asked for the GM to be responsible for the data, for the revenue performance, for the cost control. So that's been a shift in the last few years I've seen, and I would say like 80 to 90%, if not 110%, is people management. People management, making sure your manager are in line, making sure you are the ambassador of the brand, ambassador of the hotel in the local area, for the staff, for the owners. So you are in the middle of everything. And for the small story, for me, when I was 12, I was dreaming of being a GM in front of the hotel in Monaco. In Monaco, I said, like, one day I will be back, I will be hotel GM. Then I realized what was a GM, and said, I'm not going to be a GM. But it all started with this kind of dream of being a GM, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting. My revenue management career was similar to that. My first job, I was a reservations manager, and I worked for the director of revenue, and he was miserable all the time, and I was like, that job sucks. I'm never doing that job. So I left hotels for a while and went into restaurants. I actually worked for Gordon Ramsay, and while that was a lot of fun, and I've got interesting stories about it, restaurants aren't for me. So I ran right back to hotels, and this time I was with a director of revenue who was much different personality, and she kind of showed me that it's not the job, it's how you handle it. It's more of a personality thing. So that kind of helped me, see. I was like, okay, I can do this. But that first guy, I was like, no, there's no way I'm doing that job. But what about you, Anita? What are the things that you say are the most important duties of a general manager? Don't forget you're on mute.
I think now I'm fine.
Yeah,
the other day on LinkedIn, a question like that appeared. What is the most important skill of the GM or something like that. And then you had 4 points to choose, like memory, teamwork, physical stamina, and creativity. I think the most percentages went for teamwork, which I agree on. But I think nowadays it's rather creativity for me, because there are so many situations which are popping up every second in a hotel, which you wouldn't even think of. And you have to be creative with your team together to get a solution for it. Doesn't matter if it's a positive or a negative thing which is happening. So I think on that part, that's the most important thing for us. In terms of what we have to do the whole day, I think you guys all summed it up. It's like starting the day right with your team together, getting them to push with you the day through in a good mood, and then it's basically everything you do. Not only the things no one else wants to do, but everything else you have a person for in the team, because they need your support. They need to consult. You need to support them. Probably people are missing. So there is lack in, I don't know, housekeeping, maintenance, reservation, front office, wherever. And you just jump in and you have to be aware of everything. Most of all in the current.
Yeah, I agree with Anita. I definitely agree with her. I mean, today's operations and running a hotel is not the same as it was maybe 10 or 15 or 20 years ago. That GM, especially right now through the COVID and getting, the recovery back, is that GM has to be omnipresent at the hotel, all over the place, making sure that every department is good to go. And if they aren't, thinking of several things to make that better, right? It's not just one thing that you're going to be doing to maybe help out in staffing, maybe help out in the, the supply side of things. It's like you're thinking of plan A, B, and C for every situation, maybe even D, E, and F, because that's how a very strong GM kind of gets through the day, gets through the month, gets through a quarter, right? Is thinking of multiple things and acting quick on it, not just, standing back. And so that person that's trying to be a GM, or you're aspiring to be a GM, like, you have to be in that mindset that every day there's going to be a problem. And am I ready for it? Right? And how strong-willed am I? And am I a person that's building people up and not tearing people down? I think that's a big part of being a leader and a GM. Is I've worked for GMs in other businesses, and it's not fun being yelled at every single day. So you have to have a positive mindset when you're talking about the operations of a small hotel or a large hotel, and you have to be that team person that builds people together and not separates the team, right? And we see a lot of different types of people working with us and staying at our hotel, so you have to be that person that gets along with a lot of different types of personalities. And I think that's important when you're thinking about becoming a GM. And I mean, there's like 1,000 things that you have to be responsible for, but I think those main things, as everyone said, is that leadership part is very important, I think.
Yeah, that's it. I think you hit the nail on the head. I wish you guys were hiring. I would love to work for GMs like you two. I mean, all the things you're saying is exactly the way it should be. Anna, we'll start with you on this one. What do you think? What would you say is the most important quality for a general manager, in your opinion?
Well, first of all, I'll say the same as Anita mentioned. You have to be creative. You have to be creative with everything, because no day is the same as the other. So you're facing different challenges on a daily basis. To make sure that your staff motivated, and you deal with people, you deal with guests on a daily basis, with different guests and different staff members. So you have to motivate them, be creative with the ways that you talk to them, and then exactly the same way you make sure that your guests are happy. And then you have to be creative with everything else, revenue, finances, paperwork, everything has to be right. So creativity and leadership, responsibility as well. You have to take responsibility.
Yeah. Well, you're responsible for everything, so you better have that one. How about you, Thibault? You deal with general managers in a different capacity than most of the rest of the panel. What would you say are some of the important qualities?
Yeah, I think for me, first of all, being open-minded and having like a knowing a bit of everything. I've realized that the best GM were the one who had experience in the field, who came from housekeeping, who came from front office, or at least touch on it. Or for me, of course, I will say like they had experience a bit on revenue management. It would be easier for me to deal with because I understand what is Revpar, what is everything. So those guys have been a bit touching on a lot of different pieces, and I think that's very important. So being open-minded is one. Then going back to team leadership and teamwork, for me, again, it's key. And then one piece I realize it's very important because the GM has a lot of pressure from everywhere, from the guests, from the owner, from the brand, from a lot of things. And you're in the middle of everything. So you receive all the fun part of being a GM. And what is very important between a good GM and an excellent GM are the one who are able to absorb this pressure and this stress, but not spread it to the team. They will kind of keep it to themselves and be able to kind of absorb and still motivate the team and take the stress on them. I know if I'm clear on this one, because I see those one which are like, kind of ripple effect. The owner shot at the GM, then the GM shoot at the team, and then the manager shoot at the team member, and that's the worst thing that can happen.
Yep.
A good GM will be the one to kind of a buffer, and then he will go down, he will not go below. So that would be my first thing for a good GM.
Completely agree. That's leadership. Once you're in a leadership position, you give up the right to complain like that. It's your responsibility to protect the team from that kind of thing. And like what Rupesh was saying earlier is you have to bring that positive energy. This crap we're all dealing with, right? But in order to keep a team motivated, moving in the right direction, you need to kind of know what information they need and what maybe they don't need to know right now, and keep that positivity. We're going to jump into a comment we got here from Kat. What is the best piece of advice that you have ever received, and did you take it at the time? Anita, we'll start with you on that one.
I've already read that comment, and I'm honestly thinking. Probably I can say I have never taken it. I'm not too cool on advices. But actually, I don't know.
I'm not sure. All right, we'll come back. What about you, Rup?
Man, there's so many great advice that people have given me in the past, years that I've been in the industry. I feel like some powerful, advice that I got was make connections within the industry, which we all continue needing to do until the end of your life, right? And then keep learning. Those are the two things that I continuously do every single day. I don't know everything, right? And so I lean to a lot of different people in my network. And if I don't have that network, then I'm trying to figure it out myself, and I'm stressed out. So two biggest advice is build your network in the industry, right? And then learn every single day.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree with you on that. I never received those advices, but it's the same way I'm living.
Well, if you want to just say, you received that piece of advice from Rupesh just now, and that's an acceptable answer. How about you, Anna?
I really like the advice from our live event in London. That was about making sure that you don't mess up with wrong people, because you never know who you're going to meet on your way up or your way down. So make sure you're kind, basically.
Thibault.
Yeah, I was going to mention the great Steve Carell and the famous bro before ho. No, I'm kidding. But of course, I'm kidding. Don't anyone. But for me, the best piece of advice for a revenue manager was to take risk, because taking risk, if you take risk and if you fail, if you take risk and you win, you will be happy and you'll be and so on. If you fail, we take risk and if you fail, at least you'll be wise. Meaning like taking risk, always experimenting and focusing and shifting your mindset into this kind of learning curve. So even if you test and you fail, you still learn, and this way you still progress. And I think it's applicable to any kind of department, any kind of practices, in revenue management even more. Don't be afraid to take risk, because you will learn and you will improve for the future.
Yeah. Well, mine was actually that from a general manager at my first property. He always said, never stop learning, which I know is something that's already been shared. So I'll share another one, which is be memorable. and that advice was given to me when I first became a director of revenue and got into my first budget meetings and things like that, where I didn't do a lot of speaking. Because I had a VP who had been there, done that, and I was kind of just sitting back and soaking it up. And the asset manager at the end of the meeting came up to me and asked me why I didn't say anything. And my approach generally is listen, learn, and then start to speak. So I said, hey, yeah, I'm kind of just learning the ropes. And he's like, no, you always gotta make sure that you bring something to the table, even if you're just there to you add a joke, or something, but make sure that people remember you in a positive way when you're in those type of situations. So that was something that stuck with me. And even if you don't have all the answers or you're newer at what you're doing, try to bring something to that conversation. So we'll get back into the questions. This is what I think is a good one. What department, and we'll start with you, Rupesh, since you have the most experience in this role, what department do you suggest getting into first before becoming a general manager?
And I'm not sure if you hear the lawn guy behind me. No, I think anything in the back behind the house, so you see what's actually going on, and then the guest side of things too. So start in housekeeping, so you know what you're selling, right? And then go to the front desk, so you know then how to sell and how to engage with guests and with your team. And I think those are very important, because you want to be the GM, you got to be a personality person too. You can't just be that person hiding in your office. And that's not the role of a GM these days, right? Unless you work for a huge hotel where you have thousands of people working for you, you're out in the open, right? You're out meeting people, you're out talking to people every single day. And so I think just getting that experience of learning the back end of the hotel, it could be F&B, it could be any of the departments behind the house, behind the scenes. And then you learn exactly how that hotel operates. And then you move yourself up. And, I see a lot of people are like, oh, I'm the front desk person, now I want to be the GM. It doesn't work that way a lot of times, unless you get this amazing opportunity and you're ready to work 7 days a week and never be home. But, I think there are some opportunities where you move yourself up. And, we've hired GMs, we've moved up GMs that were housekeepers, right? Which is an amazing story, and a bunch of stories like that. So I think just learning the back end of the operation side, you get a full understanding of what happens and how to operate a hotel. And then just jump to different parts of the business. And guess what? You don't have to work in those departments, but you have to learn and ask questions on how things happen. Be inquisitive, right? And I think that's important when we're talking about becoming a leader of any position, right? Asking a lot of questions.
Yeah. How about you, Anita? What has your path been like to general manager?
Kind of similar to the description of Rube. But in my experience, where I moved around in different countries and met GMs and worked in the industry, most GMs came out of sales, revenue management, reservations, so back of house, and only one side of the story. So how to sell the property, how to sell my product, but not being aware of what is happening in the background and what are the processes behind selling a room or selling a conference room or, I don't know, a restaurant event or whatever. And that's where I, again, have to agree with Rup that it is really important to get as much knowledge about the hotel what you can to work around different departments. And that's what I did. I started my apprenticeship in F&B, then went to front office with a short time in housekeeping, moved up in front office, went to the back office, worked in reservations, worked in revenue management, worked in sales for a long time, which I hated. Moved to a headquarter for a big chain, which is also an interesting part to see what is happening there. Why are they working and how are they working, and why are they in a headquarter of a hotel chain steering their hotels towards a certain goal, and then said, I need to go back to operations for me and be on the pole on the happenings.
All right,
Hmm.
that's awesome.
And as GM, I'm learning maintenance. So
yeah, you will.
now I have to.
You will. And Anna, so you're on that path now to becoming a GM. What departments have you felt is been most impactful for you?
Well, to be fair, from Anita's story, that from her experience, like all of the GMs that she met before were sales. In my experience, all of the GMs in the UK specifically I met before, they were F&B background. So, so for me, I see it because I was my background is sales, and is sales in like Europe, in Latvia, where I'm from. When I moved to UK, I went to front of house and I'm more operational. I would say it really depends on a hotel that you would like to work. Just choose the brand you like, or choose the lifestyle you like. Like, I don't know if it's foodie hotel or it's more corporate hotel, and then you kind of work your way around it. But you have to know everything. You have to know all the departments. You have to be maintenance, you have to be housekeeper, you have to be receptionist, and so on. So obviously you have to know the revenue and sales part of it. It's really, in my opinion, choose the brand or lifestyle or hotel that you would like to work for, and then go from there.
Yeah. Well, I think the common thread here is you need a kind of all-encompassing idea of how the operation runs. I don't think, just my personal opinion, I don't think anybody will be successful as a general manager only knowing one department. I don't think you'd be successful in hospitality, period. I think what made me pretty good as a revenue manager was I've done housekeeping, I've done front desk, I've done a bunch of these other different departments. So I understand that, hey, if I oversell, that's stressful, for the front desk. If we book a last minute sales group, that's stress on the operation. So we need to be, sympathetic to what that does to the operation, and kind of work as a team. And, sometimes you need to do that because we need that money, but hey, let's not just dump it on them and say, hey, handle this. Let's try to, kind of soften that blow and work with them and explain, hey, this is what happened, but how can we help and how can we do it? I had a great question here, which I think it sounds like it might be more of an American thing, because based on Anita's answer, a lot of people have come from the sales aspect, which I haven't seen in my experience. But a question I got, and we'll start with you actually, Rupesh, and then we'll go to Thibault, because this is a revenue management one. When do you think that revenue managers being considered for general manager roles will no longer be controversial?
Say that one more time.
When do you think that revenue managers being considered for GM roles will no longer be controversial?
No, I really don't know.
I guess
revenue management.
I was going to say, do you feel it is controversial for someone in revenue management?
I don't think it is. Most revenue managers have that experience of not just the revenue side, but they've seen the operation side. They know what's happening in the hotel. From the revenue managers that I've experienced, they know what's happening behind the scenes. They know how guests are feeling. They know what's coming into the hotel. They know a lot of different parts of the business. So for a revenue manager becoming a GM, I don't think it's controversial. I think they understand the business and they're the perfect person to join that role, right? I think that's what I feel.
Right.
Anybody feel differently?
I don't. I don't feel differently about it. I think you're right. But I think the common theme again is you if you've only ever done revenue management and you're the person. I mean, we have a stereotype of being the people that just stay in the office. We just do our numbers and we change rates and that's it, right? So we typically your typical stereotypical revenue manager doesn't really get out and about in the hotel. They may not know housekeeping, they may not know engineering, they may not know front desk, and how what we do impacts those departments. So if you're that person, GM's not going to be for you, right? I don't think, for me, I do think it is controversial at this point. I haven't seen any GMs that I know personally that have a revenue management background. But I think it's because of they're not doing all of the things you guys have been saying, that you need to know everything. You need to know more about the hotel and not just your numbers. How about you, Thibault? What do you think?
I don't think it's controversial at all. I think it was maybe like 20 to 30 years ago, because revenue management was still like kind of a black box of a guy doing magic stuff in his office, but
Wizard
not
of
anymore.
Oz.
But not anymore. People are waiting, are actually looking for revenue and ROI on their property, and I think this kind of revenue management background is very important. And again, as you mentioned correctly, there are revenue managers and there are revenue managers. In a way that you have revenue managers which are just doing like Excel spreadsheets, focused on themselves, not talking to anyone, changing the pricing. And then you have revenue manager which are never at the office, talking to people, motivating the team, and that's the kind of revenue manager will get promoted to GM position. Now maybe you're right. There's a step between the director of revenue and the GM position that needs to happen, which I've seen in the past, which is the director of sales and marketing. So you do like a revenue manager, director of sales marketing, and then hotel manager, GM. I've seen rarely some director of revenue manager to GM. It's happening still, so it's not controversial, but there is one step in between, which is director of sales marketing probably.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I like those. You know, I also think that a good revenue manager understands how the team behind the scenes is feeling and what's happening behind the scenes. Like if you know that you're up on the rooms department side, that you're having a tough time hiring housekeepers, guess what? That revenue manager knows that we need to put these things into place. That way we're not overselling the hotel or selling a hotel where we can't manage the operations, right? All those things matter. So that revenue manager that knows that has that kind of experience where they're well connected to the hotel, not just in an office out, miles or in another country, they have to understand what's happening on the property in the local market to be properly selling, but then also learn the operation side of things at that particular hotel. Because if they don't know what's happening at the hotel because staffing issues, supply issues, a lot of different things, then they're not the right person for that GM position, right?
Yeah, I don't think they're the right person for the revenue manager position if they're not doing that. I totally agree. I mean, especially now, a lot of people work remotely, which is fine because sales and revenue, you can kind of do that. But it's really important to know that hotel, whether you need to visit periodically and just create the relationships with the people at the property, or just being in tune and being on the phone with the GM. Hey, what's the situation?
Mm-hmm.
Can we pull this off? Like you said, those are things are super important if you're going to be a good revenue manager, but then also want to move up and potentially be a GM. What about you, Anita? Your background has been pretty diverse. Do you feel that it's controversial for a revenue manager to move up to GM? And what are your thoughts on that?
As of my experience, I cannot say that because my longest experience before being a GM is in revenue management and distribution. So, but I was always interested in every other part, and I was the type of revenue manager or distribution responsible, or however you call it, who was walking around the property or the properties and talking to the people. What is happening? What can we steer? What kind of business do we need? How can we handle the business which is coming in, 3 months before or ad hoc on the same day? And I think this is really an important part, and that's how you learn a lot about other parts of the hotel or the operations. In general, I have to agree with you all that only revenue focus office sitting type, I do not want to repeat that, is not enough. You have to be an open-minded person and have to get to know a lot of other things which are happening around you. You do not have to know everything in a hotel, because I think we can say, Anna can say the same and Rup can say the same. The most things which you know now leading a hotel, you learned from experience, and no one told it to you before. You just stood in a new situation, and the next time you knew it. But learn what you can before. And it doesn't
Yeah.
matter if it's a revenue management position from where you start, or it's, I don't know, front office manager position where you start. You have to learn everything else.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Anna, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I completely agree with everyone. And as a GM, you are, as we mentioned already, in between owner, investor, and your team. And you need to deliver, you still need to deliver the profit. So if you don't know how to do that, if you're not really knowing your numbers, you don't have the revenue basics or background, you won't be able to do that. So it's not controversial at all. So you have to have that background, you have to have that knowledge.
Yeah, completely agree. This is a good one. I think we've got about 10 minutes left here. We might need most of it to get into this one. The question was, why isn't there more of an emphasis on teaching people to move up and learn? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, we'll start with you, Rup.
So I think, I think a lot of folks that are GMs, or not a lot, but there are GMs that are in that mindset of old school where I don't want somebody being better than me, so I'm not going to teach them so they don't move up. I've seen that. I talk to a lot of GMs. I talk to a lot of owners, and I see that I don't want to teach them because then they'll be better than me. Or guess what? They're going to go move to another hotel. And I think that's not the mindset this day, because you can learn everything you want on social media or learn it through your network. And I feel like, those GMs that are not helping their team, because guess what? It's not just you running the hotel, it's your entire team. If you're not helping them improve and grow, I feel like there's no respect in that. And you're not proud of, for me, I want to be proud of what I'm doing for everything I do. Right. And I think that's a lesson that folks that are trying to become GMs or any leader, that you need to make sure that you bring everybody up on the way with you. Right. And I feel like in the past that wasn't happening, and for folks. So I think that's an opportunity for all of us to learn.
Yeah, that's a powerful answer. Yeah, that I think that is spot on. I mean, I once had a conversation with one of my superiors, and I told her basically, look, a year from now, I don't want to be at this hotel. I want to be doing something bigger. And her response was, why? like as if my entire goal of my career was to work at this 200 room courtyard. You know what I mean? And she was not going to participate in helping me learn or move or do anything. I needed to leave the company in order to move up and get the roles that I wanted. And she was certainly this kind of person that was like, I'm not teaching you anything. I'm not helping you. You're just here to do what I need you to do and get out, leave me alone. So
yeah, during our meet, I mean, I think that's powerful. When you're during our meetings that we have quarterly, or when I'm speaking at an event, I tell folks, I say, listen, we're not going to be in this hotel for the rest of our lives. Everybody's going to eventually move on, including the owner of the hotel. Eventually, everyone's going to move on. Yeah. So while you're here, everybody learns something to grow yourself, mentally, and emotionally too, because I think that's a big part of us being the leader of a hotel or becoming a leader, right? We're talking about what you wanted to ask a GM, and I think that's important, that we're not going to be here forever, right? And I think that's the mindset that everybody needs to know, that I'm not here forever, but when I'm here, I'm going to learn everything I can. I'm going to share everything I can and make this a successful property, because guess what? For me, I want to be an award-winning GM. I want to be an award-winning owner, operator, right? And if you come from that mindset where you want to be the best, you start thinking differently. I think that's important too.
Yeah. What about you, Anna?
Well, I think the mindset is completely. So you have to be sure that you want your team to succeed. You want every single member of your staff to be superstar. So if they move somewhere, then they can say, yes, I worked for this guy or worked for that hotel, and it was amazing, and that's why I'm in hospitality. And if you can do that, then hospitality will succeed as well. So we will have less staff shortage issues, and the overall will be completely different. So train, make sure that people progress. If they can't do it immediately within your company, then let them go and give them brilliant references, because if you train them, that's your business card. So I have trained that person and they're doing so well, amazing. So why not?
Yeah. This is a great question. So we got about 5 minutes left. So I suggest let's jump into this one. I think this is a fantastic question. Anita, we'll start with you on this one. Many hospitality workers that were laid off feel that they were been betrayed by the industry. What can GMs do about regaining trust?
Depends on what kind of tools they have. It depends if you're working in a chain hotel. It depends if you're working for an owner with a couple of hotels. It depends if you're a sole property. It depends if you're a sole property and the owner, GM and owner at the same time. It depends on what tools you have. The most important thing for me at the moment is with my team, because of course I'm facing those issues too, to talk to them about what is happening, to assure them that something like what happened in 2020 springtime, summertime, is not going to happen again in that form, and make sure they know this business will always be around. Of course, it's one of those businesses, or it's probably the first business which is hit by any kind of crisis. If you think of it, it doesn't matter if it's a war, it's a pandemic, if it's a financial crisis, and so on. Tourism always stops for a moment, but it always comes back, and it's developing every time after every crisis. And I think in most countries around the world, people learned from the handling of the pandemic in the past year and this year what shouldn't be handled similarly next time, whenever this will appear. I hope not too soon.
Yeah, I was going to say, hopefully not.
For me, it's in general openness. Communicating openly with my team. I don't know, half an hour ago, we just talked about another topic, like you have to be as a GM, you have to be the buffer, what comes into the hotel, and what you are giving downwards to your team. I agree with that 50%, and I am the buffer for sure. But for me, I learned in the past years that being open with them and sharing also my difficulties on the day in the background, or what I am fighting for to make it better for us, they are really appreciating that, and even working stronger in the team with a more open policy. And it regains their trust.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's important to mention that staff who have been let go during the pandemic, there was some reason behind. And many times it's because it was to save the business, to save the hotel. With the cost of payroll that some hotel had during the pandemic, and the revenue dropped almost to zero, the hotel will have been existing after 1 year or less than this. So in order to save in a long term, like 200 or 300 or more employees, we had to let go of a few people, but it doesn't mean like in the future we will not come back. And I think it's very important, as we discussed in the past, and was that, as Anna mentioned, our industry is beautiful. We should emphasize on this point. We should reinforce that our industry is super attractive compared to other careers that you may have. You can travel, you can meet fantastic people. There is a way of development in a lot of different directions. And I think us as an industry, we need to reinforce this one, that you can grow, you can have empowerment, you can do a lot of stuff in the industry, and us is our responsibility to make sure we bring this awareness on the market. And I think that's very important to regain the trust of everyone.
Yeah. All right. What about you, Rupesh? We'll wrap up.
Yeah, I mean, I think the industry did get affected last year and even parts of this year, right? I think just sharing the good word of hospitality to the world on social media or through your network, or sharing stories of what's happening, positivity, instead of just the negative stuff that you see on like Facebook or whatever. If you share a positive side of things, people see that there's an opportunity here for our industry. And like I said, I'm an advocate for the industry. I want to continue sharing the good word of hospitality. And I think that's all of our jobs, including owners, operators, all of those things. Yes, there's going to be a pandemic in the future. Who knows what's going to happen, right, to the industry? But guess what? We're going to come back. And I think that was my story when we first started. I said, listen, I'm staying I'm staying bullish on hospitality, because guess what? We're going to come back. And I think that's a story that we share with the world, and share a lot of positivity instead of negativity. I forgot all the people that were negative through the pandemic. I forgot about them, but I remember those people that supported the industry, and I remember them because now they continue sharing positivity. And I think that's just a mindset when you're whatever you're doing in life. But I think for our business, sharing that positivity of all the amazing things that you do that happen at your hotel, but that you engage with, and every day there's a story at your hotel. I guarantee you, and no matter what type of hotel you have, every day there's a story, because someone's coming to your hotel because of a funeral. They're coming for business. They're coming for a wedding. They're coming for a lot of different things. You have a story to share, and there's sharing a story on positivity for our industry is going to continue helping grow and regain that trust, I think.
Yeah, that's a fantastic answer. Well said. We are out of time. We are over time, which I kind of felt would happen today. This is a very, very good topic. We had some excellent answers from our panel, so thank you guys for all your insight. Rupesh, of course, is great to have you. If you guys haven't seen enough of these two faces, I will be on Hospitality Live in about 45 minutes with Mr. Rupesh talking about social media, so be sure to tune in for that. Thank you guys for a great conversation. Next week, be sure to join us. We are talking about Of Mice and Men, and not the kind that run around on the floor at crappy hotels. We are talking about sales. So be sure to tune in to Revenue Hacks again next week. We will see you then, and be safe until then.
Thank you.